Hi everybody and welcome back to the channel. It's time for another video. We have quite a few things to get through today. We're going to start with some non-Prince Harry stories, I suppose. And then we're going to talk about a few things, well, quite a lot of things that have been going on. I mean, my goodness, it really is a struggle to keep up. One video a day does not seem to be enough. And then I've got something to unbox. It's just come in. I've ordered a new royal replica jewel. So this contains some jewellery that is a royal replica. I will be unboxing that on the channel. I could have made a separate video, but I thought it would be quite nice. And also, I'm really impatient and I don't want to wait. I just want to open it and get into it. So we'll get to that later. First of all, I want to say, obviously, it is the Tuesday, the 10th of January, 2023. Where has almost 2 weeks gone of this year already? It's just kind of flown by. But also yesterday it was Catherine, the Princess of Wales's 41st birthday. So I want to say a big, huge congratulations and a big happy birthday to Catherine on my behalf and also everyone else's as well, all of the viewers. So a big happy birthday to Catherine. It is understood that she spent the day privately with William and family. So the main account to sort of acknowledge her birthday was, of course, the main royal family Twitter and Instagram accounts, and they say, wishing the Princess of Wales a very happy birthday today, and they shared a really sweet photo of Catherine. So very happy birthday. It's coming up to my 40th this year as well, so so my goodness, yes, I'm nearly in the over 40s club, my goodness. Right, let's also get on to what happened on Sunday. So it's the first time that King Charles has been seen in public since obviously, most of these allegations and leaks and things, interviews have been coming out regarding Prince Harry. So he was seen at church. He is currently, well, he was on Sunday at least, at Sandringham. So he's reignited the kind of tradition that the Queen had of being seen going to church. It was unsure whether or not that would continue, but it seems like it is. So obviously when Charles and Camilla are up in Scotland, they will be using the little church that's really close to Balmoral, Crathy. Continuing the tradition, King Charles was seen at St Mary Magdalene Church, and he seemed very unaffected by all what was going on. He seemed happy, he seemed to be smiling, he was interacting with the crowds, he was interacting with photographers. I'm just scrolling through the photos now, I will pop a few up. He just seemed very happy. It was a nice kind of sunny day. He was having a good old walk around. I think the royal walkabouts will continue as well. Of course, he looked rather lovely in his caramel camel coloured coat with the hanky poking out. Yes, he looked very unaffected by what was going on. Right, okay. Oh, we are joined by a Rory. Hello, Rory. How are you doing? I think he's also interested in what's in the package. Right, so I've just opened a load of news stories and already there are more stories coming out. If you missed my review of the Tom Bradby interview, I will link it below. I did a full review of that one. So Harry has made new claims. I think it's in People magazine, referencing the fact that he revealed his kill count for his time when he was in Afghanistan. He claims that he did that for his own healing. Now, I suppose, I can understand, the fact that, telling your version of the truth, and of course we do have to remember that, Harry's version of the truth is just that, it's his version. Being sort of honest with yourself can be quite a cathartic process, and we sort of learned that I think part of the reason why he did the book was to kind of have this kind of cathartic experience. Now, whether or not you believe what was written in the book as the gospel truth, that's another matter entirely. But at least for Harry, what he's put, I think, has been quite a cathartic experience. But your words and your actions do have consequences. It's all about choice. So just because he has the right to say what he wants to say, doesn't mean it was the right thing. So although it may have been good for his own healing, I don't think it's been very good for his safety and, of course, his security and that of Meghan, Archie and Lilibet, his wider family, and also army personnel all over Britain. So what he's done by revealing what he's revealed is he's just increased the attention on himself. So yes, years ago, the press were kind of, hailing him as coming back and serving his country. But that was at the time when the war was sort of going on, or very shortly afterwards. Now, we're all these years on, a lot of water has gone under the bridge regarding that conflict, and a lot of dust had settled. And I suppose in terms of the Taliban, what Harry's role in it would have, kind of shrunk in their memories. What Harry has done is he's dragged it all up, brought it back up in even more detail than what it was discussed at the time, and he's made himself a target. The Taliban have actually commented on his words, and I do think he's probably increased the price that they put on his head. He's made himself more of a target, and I'm not quite sure that was the right choice to do. So yeah, Harry told people that he speaks openly about his time in Afghanistan and killing insurgents for my own healing journey, and in the hopes it will help others. Well, I don't think it's helped others because it's put other people at risk, including his family, and I hope it was worth the price to pay for his own healing journey. Apparently, oh yes, people are commenting. I've just seen the photo now. I'll pop it up. Apparently, his eyes look like they have been digitally altered and enhanced. Definitely, the hair has. I mean, the hair's definitely been filled out. Which, see, I don't know. When he's having these photos taken, does he put that stuff on your hair, that powder, those hair fibers that thicken it out? Is it makeup, or have they done it in post-edit? Because that is not Harry's hairline. And I think they have brightened the eyes. So yes, a lot of people commenting on that. Yesterday, he was seen going into a new recording of an interview, and he was spotted with armed bodyguards carrying a Glock box. I do believe that is a gun, and he doesn't appear to have as much hair as in the People magazine photo in those photographs. Right, so the other story that I really have wanted to comment on for a while now is, of course, the singing seal story. So by now, you will already know pretty much exactly what it's all about. But for those of you that don't, the whole premise of it is that Meghan was singing to seals, and Harry says that that is proof that she really is magic. Yes, I know. I can hear the sniggers of it. I burst out laughing when I read this story. It may even make me laugh again. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to read bits of this story that are also use excerpts from his memoir. So Prince Harry believed Meghan was magic because she could communicate with seals. Useful. In his memoir Spare, the Duke of Sussex tells how the couple stumbled upon a pair of seals whilst on holiday on the north coast of Scotland with his father, the king. This will be the Castle of May. The Castle of May was owned by Harry's grandmother, the late Queen Mother, Charles's grandmother, and I do believe that the royal family still have access to it, but I think it's been put in trust. It's some kind of trust. So it is open to the public. Members of the public can go. It's a beautiful location. The Queen Mother loved it there, and Charles does holiday there every year. So it appears that during that holiday, during that stay, he invited the Sussexes. Okay, the night before, over dinner, Charles had told them of the story of the Selkies, Scottish sirens disguised as seals, and recommended that they sing to the seals to see whether or not they would respond. At the time, the Duke writes, his father and Meghan had a strong bond, and the King was enjoying peacocking in front of Meg by telling stories that the Duke had never heard with much theatre. Well, we know that Charles loves an anecdote, doesn't he? So while on the beach, the Sussexes saw some seals. As you do. The Duke ran over to sing to them. He failed to get a response. Oh no. But when his wife joined in, they answered to her, he writes. And this is direct quotes. Soon enough, an endless number of heads began to appear in every part of the water. You can imagine them just popping up, can't you? All these seals just emerging when they hear Meghan's dulcet tones. Responding to her song, he writes, saying he thought at that moment the Duchess really is magic. What was she singing to them? What was it? I mean, I can think of a few songs. Was it Money, Money, Money by ABBA? Maybe The Winner Takes It All? I don't know. Or was it, such a classic like Anaconda? I really have no idea. It could have been a stupid superstition, but I didn't care, Harry writes. So yes. And then I do believe, it doesn't say it here, but I read it somewhere else, that apparently he says he stripped off, got into the water, and then when he got back to the castle, one of the staff told him that you shouldn't have done that because to attract the seals is also to attract orcas, which of course can be dangerous if you're in the water. So yeah, when I heard that story, I absolutely howled. Just the thought of Meghan opening her mouth, the voice coming out, and it appealing to seals. I don't know. It just reminded me of, the Little Mermaid, when when Ursula steals the voice, and then she appears in human form as Vanessa, and then she walks on the beach singing, and then on the wedding ship, all the kind of sea lions and animals kind of get her, and then the starfish goes. I can just imagine. Anyway, so that was that story. It's not as funny reading it the second time. When I first read it, I was absolute in stitches. It was just absolutely hilarious. And I actually read it to some other people, and they were just in stitches. It really was absolutely hilarious. Okay, so next up, Prince Harry has claimed that Prince William recoiled from Meghan's hug during their awkward first meeting. In his memoir Spare, which obviously has come out today, it's actually officially out, you can buy it. At the time of making this video, I think it is number 4 in the US and the UK book charts, purely based on pre-sales. So we're going to have to wait until next week to really know what the actual physical book sales have done to those figures. Will it get to number 1? I do know that from the interview, the Tom Bradby interview, that got, I think, 5 point something million views, which sounds a lot, but it was actually beat by another program called Happy Valley on the other side. And when you compare that with 11 point something million that tuned into Oprah, you can definitely see that there has been a decline in interest. So anyway, the meeting took place in 2016 in the Prince and Princess of Wales's Kensington Palace apartment before the brothers went on a shooting trip. He says how Meghan already met Princess Eugenie and Jack Brooksbank and the Duchess of York, Prince Andrew and the Queen. Describing the short walk from Harry and Meghan's home in Nottingham Cottage to apartment 1A, which of course is the Cambridges, or the Cambridges at the time, the Duke admitted that he was more nervous for his girlfriend to meet William than anyone else. When his brother answered the door, Harry says William was a bit dressed up in smart trousers and shirt, which is kind of similar to what Harry normally wears. He wrote, I introduced Meg, who leaned in and gave him a hug, which completely freaked him out. My goodness. He recoiled. Giving some context to the awkward encounter, Prince Harry said his brother wouldn't usually hug someone he didn't know. In contrast, Harry explained how this was just Meghan's way of greeting strangers. He says maybe Willie expected Meg to curtsy. It would have been protocol when meeting a member of the royal family for the first time, but she didn't know and I didn't tell her. Yeah, I mean, there was a video that emerged that Meghan didn't know how to curtsy. So when she was gesticulating in the Netflix series, that big exaggerated curtsy in front of the Queen because she didn't know how to do one, a video came out that really, I think it was a year before meeting Harry, or even 6 months. It was really short. She actually performed a really almost perfect curtsy. So she did know how to curtsy, but perhaps she didn't know that was maybe what William wanted for the first meeting. I don't know. Anyway, yeah. I mean, people in Britain are not naturally huggers. I mean, some people are. I don't mind going in for a hug on a first meeting. It doesn't bother to me. I can do the whole European mwah, mwah, darling, 2 kisses. That doesn't bother me. But a lot of Brits are reserved when it comes to kind of hugging, at least on a first meeting anyway. So yeah, I can kind of see where William might be coming from there. Perhaps he wasn't expecting it, and having Meghan bearing down on you on the first meeting may indeed have made him recoil. Okay, so next up, reports have been coming out, probably from palace sources, that Camilla has been left astounded by Prince Harry's comments. The sources say the Duke is on a path of self-destruction and failed to see the irony in his behaviour. So, if palace sources, palace sources could actually mean, palace people that work for the royals, or indeed the royals themselves, they've actually kind of let slip that they think that Harry is on a path of self-destruction and fails to see the irony in his behaviour. I mean, definitely a lot of the behaviour does have a lot of irony. He's saying one thing and holding people to account on one level, and then on the other hand, he's doing exactly the same thing. So sources have told Vanity Fair that the family has been shocked and devastated by the comments, with one saying he's on a path of self-destruction. There is so much vengeance that the late Queen would have been absolutely devastated. And, and someone else says they fail to see the irony, he fails to see the irony in his own behaviour, of him being the one leaking private conversations to the media. Yeah, I mean, I think the Queen, the late Queen, it almost, it lays heavy on my heart to say this, but it probably is best that she's not here to see and hear and witness all of this. She suffered in the last couple of years of her life, from the death of the Duke of Edinburgh until her own sad passing. A lot happened. Of course, Harry was recording the Oprah interview at the time his grandfather was in hospital. Now, the royal family at that time, knew pretty much that, those were going to be his final months. And Harry was doing that, recording that interview, allowed that interview to be broadcast whilst Philip was dying. I mean, that was not a very compassionate thing to do. And of course, Harry and Meghan are preaching all about compassion. Well, sometimes compassion can start a little bit closer to home. And that showed a complete lack of compassion. And then continuing their broadsides whilst the Queen was still alive. Of course, Harry was writing this book whilst the Queen was still alive. The majority of it was already finished up until the point when she passed away. So he was doing this knowing full well that she was likely to be alive at the time of its release. And he still didn't care. As far as Harry was concerned, the Queen could still be here now, and this book would have still gone out. And just think about how much that would have hurt the Queen. All the things that she's done for Harry, all the things that being in the institution has given him so many opportunities, and he is just, basically trying to trash everything that she has built up over her entire reign. I mean, it really is absolutely disgusting, and it's so insincere to just chuck everything back in the Queen's face. And just because she's not here now to see it does not make it any less worse. Of course, King Charles, as Prince of Wales, did so much to build up the monarchy, amongst all the scandals and things that also happened, of which Charles was a part of. I'm not going to overlook that. The whole Diana, War of the Waleses, Sarah Ferguson, Andrew. There have been, a lot of self destruction that has been going on in that family. However, for Harry to do something unnecessarily to that family when he's already removed himself and embarked on a new life, I think just goes to show how bitter and how much resentment and how much the therapy that he's been going through probably isn't actually solving the core issues. I don't think it's about lampooning your family. You have to take accountability for your own inner emotions, and I don't think he's fixed those. I think somewhere very deep inside him is still that 12, 13-year-old boy who lost his mom, and that is very, very sad. This is where I do have the compassion for Harry, because I remember at the time when she passed away, it was harrowing, and to actually be one of her sons going through that at such a young age, it stunted him emotionally. He's blocked out much that went before that. A lot of his struggles with his memories, and I think emotionally he has a lot of work to do. And I think that is best done behind the cameras rather than playing it out in front. I fail to see how this is healing him. Okay, so another, well, I suppose a little bit more of a light-hearted story. In one of my previous videos, I spoke about that royal Winkies, of course, Winky being the male appendage. So Harry revealed that he and William were circumcised. We really didn't need to know that. No one needed to know that. But he also spoke at the time about having a frostbitten appendage. So at his brother's wedding, at William's wedding, he actually walked down the aisle as best man with a frozen, frostbitten appendage. My goodness! And of course, he'd been on an expedition, and that's how it got frostbitten. By the way, we'll go back to the whole best man thing. We'll do that now, actually, before we move on to the funny revelation. So. Harry claims in the book that he was not actually William's best man, even though he walked down the aisle, was there at the other end, he was there with the rings, he did all the things publicly that a best man would do, but he says that at the wedding reception, he didn't do the speeches. William asked two other friends, close friends, to do the speech. So Harry is equating the whole role of being best man to just doing the best man speech. It could have just been that William wanted other friends to be involved, and maybe he just wanted them to do the speech. It didn't mean that Harry was not actually the best man. It just means that perhaps William wasn't going down the traditional route of having just one person do all the different functions of that role. Perhaps he wanted to share it out. So you could actually say that perhaps there were three best men, or there was one best man, Harry, and there were just two friends doing the speech. I don't know. It was William and Catherine's day. That's what William wanted. I think Harry has just been taking things really, really personally. Another thing that I'm going to flow into really quickly was, of course, Harry complaining about his Kensington Palace basement apartment. So before he moved into Nottingham Cottage, William and Catherine were in there. He was given a basement apartment that had big windows, but because they were kind of sunken with I'll try and find a picture of what I mean. In fact, there is something very similar outside William and Catherine's apartment at Kensington Palace, where in fact the photograph was taken when the Obamas visited. You can clearly see that there are there's like a basement with big windows and then railings above. So I imagine that is what it would have looked like, but closer to the kind of Nottingham Cottage size of Kensington Palace. And because he was given that, because there was no space, at the time, Kensington Palace was pretty much full. That's why William and Catherine ended up being in Nottingham Cottage rather than anything larger at the time, because there wasn't the space. It's not just the royal family that lived there, it's also staff as well. So sometimes if you're in a really plum role within the staff, you're given, a grace and favour apartment. So at the time, there wasn't a lot left. In fact, Beatrice and Eugenie were actually staying at St James's Palace because there was no room at Kensington. So Harry was given this apartment, and he complained that it was very, very dark and that other staff members were parking their cars in front of the railings, blocking his light. He wrote a letter, nothing was done. He asked the royal family, asked the Queen to intervene, nothing was done. I just think, how trivial, whether or not that actually happened, it's completely irrelevant. The fact that he's bringing up things like the Nazi uniform, the people parking in front of his window from years ago, just goes to show how much of a grudge that he has been holding on to all of these years. Anyway, so going back to the frostbitten incident, The prince was keen to avoid a second case of suffering from a frostbitten appendage, and he had a bespoke cushion, an appendage cushion, made for a trip to Antarctica in order to protect him from a second dose of genital frostbite. He was presented with the device by a close mate ahead of a 335-kilometre charity hike. I remember the hike for injured veterans in 2013. His close friend, who wasn't named, sent him the custom-made device after Harry revealed he had suffered frostnip of the appendage during a similar charity event in March of 2011. But experts told the newspaper that a specialised device wasn't needed for any polar trips, provided a man dresses adequately for frozen conditions. Which begs the question, if it's not common to have a frozen appendage, why did he get a frozen appendage the first time? Was he not dressed correctly? You would have thought that he would have been. Did he have his appendage out? Perhaps he was windmilling him in the Antarctic. I really don't know. But they say he could have taken extra precautions, such as packing better underwear and some extra padding. But one friend went above and beyond in an attempt to protect his manhood. Better yet, one very close mate hired a seamstress to make me a bespoke cushion, he said. Square, supportive, it was sewn from pieces of the softest fleece, and enough said. Harry didn't explain how the close friend acquired the necessary measurements to commission his bespoke item. Well, yes, I mean, what a story. Again, something that we just didn't need to know. Just going back a bit and touching on, of course, the release date of the book. So I think people were, and bookstores perhaps, were expecting like really, really big queues. It turns out not a lot of people have been turning up to the physical bookshops. Now, of course, this could be, the fact that, queuing for the physical release of a book may be conciled to the history books because of the rise of pre-orders such as, Amazon and Waterstones. Waterstones, a bookstore in the UK, says that it's been one of their biggest pre-ordered books of the year. Oh, well, no, was it the year or of all time? I can't remember. But anyway, they say that it's one of their biggest pre-ordered. But certainly physically in bookstores, there has been a low turnout to buy the book. As I've said, on pre-orders alone, at the point of making this video, number 4 in the US and the UK, what effect will the physical book sales have on that? We are not entirely sure. Yeah, I mean, there's lots of stuff going on, I suppose, about... Oh, there's lots of things going on, I was going to say, about the other interviews that have gone out. I don't think I'm going to be looking completely at those in detail, just talking about things that come out, such as it's been reported that with the Stephen Colbert interview, that Harry turns his family into a laughing stock. Yeah, I think that interview looks like it was more kind of comedy driven, if you like. I mean, I say comedy rather loosely. Harry also obviously admitted to taking substances in his early life, but also he's admitted taking what in California are now legal substances, even today. So people are saying, could he be extradited from the US because he may not have filled in his visa correctly, stating that he had tried these illegal substances, obviously before entering the US. But apparently a legal expert has revealed that apparently if you take them 17 or under, apparently, that doesn't count anymore. And apparently he hasn't admitted to taking those sorts of substances post 17. So I think he probably won't be extradited from the UK, or his visa stripped, whatever it is, and sent back over. He also says he doesn't feel safe in the UK, which begs the question, why is he retaining Frogmore Cottage? Now, we know the furore that happened over Frogmore Cottage. Of course, it was paid for by taxpayer-funded money when he was a full-time working royal, and he was expected to give a lifetime of service and duty to the country. Once he removed himself from that and stepped back. There was a furore over whether or not he should pay back the money. He did offer to pay back the money eventually, and that debt was settled. And then he took out a lease, so he paid extra money to lease the property. Now, I do believe it's a fairly short term lease. I think it's renewed every year or every couple of years. During his absence, it's believed that he allowed Princess Eugenie and Jack to live at least part-time there, on the proviso that when Harry and Meghan return, that they can return to it for however long they want to return to. He does say, he's previously said he wants to keep a UK base, but he's just said he doesn't see his future in the UK. He doesn't really want to return. He doesn't feel safe. So it begs the question, why is he retaining it? And perhaps he should give up that lease, maybe get some money back off the lease that he's already paid, or when that lease is up, just not renew it. Or maybe the Crown Estates could choose not to renew it, because that could be a perfectly good home for Princess Eugenie and Jack and their family. I think they've sort of indicated that they want to live there. Now, another thing that I was thinking about regarding the royal housing is, of course, that the now Prince and Princess of Wales moved, of course, to Adelaide Cottage on the Windsor estate, a much smaller home, still a 4-bedroom home, but there's no staff accommodation actually in the house. So the staff have to live off-site and then come in. Obviously, a much smaller home than Anima Hall in Norfolk, than apartment 1A at Kensington Palace. Their smallest home, their more normal home. It's still a big house, but it's more normal than what they have been living in up till now. I think another reason for moving, there was speculation it was because that they wanted to be closer to the Queen. I think it was also to do with trying to stop private family leaks. I think if they don't have staff living on site, if the staff are just coming in at certain times to do certain things like cleaning and gardening, whatever, then I think they have more chance of having a really private life. What goes on in the house stays in the house because it's just the family members. So I just had a thought that that was perhaps another reason as to why they moved to Adelaide Cottage. Polls are also showing that, at least in the public opinion, Prince Harry and Meghan's popularity has taken a bit of a nosedive. It certainly hasn't improved it here in the UK. I'm not entirely sure about overseas. I mean, I have spoken to people who live overseas, and they've said that a lot of countries such as Canada and the US are kind of almost taking the middle line. But there certainly hasn't been outstanding worldwide praise for what they're doing. Certain people are always going to be supportive, and certain people are always going to be negative. I do like to almost take a bit of a level-headed approach, but opinion polls that have been taken out here in the UK shortly after what's been going on has gone out show that Harry and Meghan are down in the popularity stakes. And I think that can be, can be supported by the fact that not as many people watched his TV interview with Tom Bradby as opposed to the Oprah interview. The book sales haven't been as strong as what I think Penguin Random House thought that they would be. So everything is kind of tying in that I don't think it's gone well for Harry at this point. Another revelation from the book is that Meghan apparently did bond with the Queen, and on one of their meetings together they discussed pregnancy, and the Queen offered some advice. Of course, the Queen, having had four pregnancies, 4 deliveries, she said that the best way to kind of induce a delivery was to have a bumpy car ride. And Harry says he can't remember whether or not they did take her up on the advice with Archie and Lilibet, but that was what the Queen's advice was. And apparently Meghan came back from their meeting really buoyed up, saying that she had bonded with the Queen. Another kind of slightly excerpt that comes out of the book, which raises more questions than what it even answers, in fact I don't even know why it was in here, was Harry using Meghan's credit card to buy a sofa for Nottingham Cottage. So of course Harry received part of £4.5 million annually, which the King, as Prince of Wales, gave to his sons to keep to keep, obviously, well, almost like payment, I suppose, really, as well as the Queen Mother's legacy. He also got a reported £10 million from his mother's estate. I'm not quite, well, it would have been round about that figure. I think the divorce settlement was about 18 million. So after any relevant taxes, I think it was put in trust. I would say it was less than 10 million, but over the course of the years, once that's matured and the investments have matured, you would have inherited a fair amount from the estate. So anyway, so quite why he had to use Meghan's credit card to buy a discounted sofa for a 2-bedroom cottage remains a mystery. Surely, if he and Meghan were desperate for a sofa quick, they could have called the Queen and she could have had some sort of sofa hauled out of storage, because the royal family does have a lot of storage, furniture in storage, which is why Harry referenced seeing all these really luxurious paintings and carpets and furniture at Catherine and William's house, was because they have access to that furniture that would have been in storage. Some of the pieces at apartment 1A were actually in Diana's apartment, so inherited furniture as well. So I don't know, maybe Harry forgot his credit card. I don't know. Maybe like the Queen, he doesn't carry cash or card. I don't know. So another story that's come out is that during the interview with Tom Bradby, Harry referenced racism and unconscious bias as two separate different things. And he said that the royal family were not racist, but he thought that they did have unconscious bias. Anyway, one of their supporters, long-time vocal supporters, Dr. Shola, says that he thought that his words were undermining his own fight against racism and needs to unpick his learning about unconscious bias. Okay, so obviously, when you begin to upset your long-standing supporters, who are basically saying that you're getting something wrong, whether or not you agree with what she says and what Harry's saying, the fact is that he is beginning to now, I suppose, alienate his own supporters. I think she carries on to say that he's in a good place to try and unpick and learn more. But, when your supporters are now questioning what you're saying, it begs the question, do you actually understand what it is you are trying to say? And if you're using your platform to try and make changes and to kind of, improve the world and improve, how people act and people's responsibilities, then, is he getting it right? Prince Harry has also shared some intimate details surrounding the birth of his 2 children in his memoir. Writing in Spare, he reminisced about the chaos surrounding the birth of Archie, of course on May the 6th in 2019, at the Portland Hospital in London. He revealed that he ate Nando's chicken and admitted to hogging his wife's laughing gas while they listened to songs in Sanskrit, following recommendations from an Ayurvedic doctor. No idea what that is. But it sounds a little bit new age to me. Harry added he didn't text anyone to announce the birth and that Meghan and he were back at Frogmore Cottage with Archie within 2 hours of him being born. He revealed that the birth of his daughter Lilibet 2 years later in California on June the 4th, 2021, was bliss, and that the couple were calmer than during their first child's birth, with Harry hand-delivering his second child into the world. He said that his wife was 10 days past her due date, and when she was medically induced at the Portland Hospital in May 2019, he recalled how the couple hopped in a nondescript car to leave Frogmore Cottage without catching the attention of the media stationed outside the property. Oh, he's just jumped back then, because I thought he was just talking about Lilibet in 21, but now we're back in 2019. Anyway, once they arrived at the hospital, the Duke of Sussex revealed they were shown to a private room via a secret lift. During the Duchess's first labour, Prince Harry described how the pair's bodyguards brought a Nando's takeaway to the hospital. He also recalled using laughing gas to calm his nerves. He revealed the laughing gas was meant for his wife, but that he used so much of it there was none left for her, and the team had to bring another bottle in for Meghan. Why was he using it? My goodness. He recalled that Meghan laughed and rolled her eyes at him as she bounced on a large purple ball in order to reduce labour. Oh, like those big exercise balls, the ones where you roll your hips like that, probably. Anyway, The couple had decorated Meghan's hospital room with some electric candles Harry used for his proposal in 2017, and Meghan suggested they put a framed picture of Princess Diana on the bedside table. The pair also listened to songs by the German artist Diva Premal. Okay. I've never heard that music. Maybe I have if I hear it. Anyway, when the contractions quickened, Meghan hopped in a bathtub to deliver the baby and had an epidural to help with the pain of labour. Would you be able to get in and out of a bath if you've had an epidural? I don't know. I mean, I'm literally just asking the question because I seem to recall that people that have epidurals are normally in bed. So, having, I am a little bit ignorant of this because I've never given birth. I've never, really been around anyone who has. So for those mothers out there, please let me know, or fathers as well, who may be in the know, or doctors. If you've had an epidural, can you normally have a bathtub delivery? I don't know. Anyway, Harry said that he held Meghan's hand as she pushed to deliver Archie and revealed she had a complicated birth, describing his son's head as being tangled. He revealed he encouraged Meghan. I mean, tangled, would that be with the cord? I'm sure the head couldn't be tangled. Surely it was tangled with the cord. He revealed he encouraged Meghan to keep pushing to deliver their son. When Archie was born, the couple both cried after the baby was wrapped in a towel and given to Meghan. Meghan consulted with a Ayurvedic doctor during the pregnancy, a qualified medical practitioner following principles from ancient Indian medicine. The Duke of Sussex recounted how the practitioner had told the couple that newborns absorb everything said to them in the first minute of their life, and how the couple told Archie they loved him. Well, I don't think he'd be able to understand language. That's the issue. I'm sure they absorb, sounds and maybe vibes, that kind of thing. But he certainly wouldn't have, absorbed the "I love you" bit. Maybe the loving tone is what they more mean. Anyway, Prince Harry revealed he didn't text anyone to tell them the news, but instead watched the birthing team running checks. He shared the couple used the same people carrier they had used to drive to the hospital to go back home, and were at Frogmore Cottage a couple of hours after the birth. What bliss, he said. We're not having to worry about timing, protocols, journalists at the front gate. He recalled how the couple drove calmly to the hospital, leaving enough time to get burgers and fries from an In-N-Out and fajitas for Meghan. The Duke of Sussex added that the couple did a viral baby mama dance after settling in their hospital room. Okay, the dance, which was made popular on TikTok, sees pregnant women and their partners gleefully rubbing their baby bumps while singing they've been pregnant for way too long. Well, let's hope that seals were not in earshot. Prince Harry also revealed he told his wife he wanted the first thing their baby to see to be his face. With the doctor overseeing the whole thing, Harry explained how he helped to deliver his daughter into the world and was overcome with emotion upon meeting his second child for the first time. He then handed her over to Meghan so she could do skin to skin with her daughter. Is that what it's known as? I would just call it a hug. Anyway, doing skin to skin. I do that with my cat. No, I do fur to skin. Prince Harry recounted how Meghan told him later that she had never been more in love with him than during their daughter's birth. And he revealed that she had written in a journal at the time, which he said read a declaration of love and a renewal of their wedding vows. Also, probably a slightly veiled warning that Meghan has a diary and a journal. In the notes, Meghan wrote that Harry delivering Lilibet and telling her that he would keep her safe had been everything, and that Harry was not a spare, in nod to the title of his memoir. Right, why would you even mention that? Why would you even mention in a note about your birth, when you're supposed to be wrapped up with all emotion, why would you reference him as a spare? That just goes to show, in my mind, that it's such a big issue in his life that she would mention it in that moment. My goodness. Anyway, yeah. Right, I'm going to leave those stories there. I think we've tackled lots and lots and lots of Harry and Meghan stories from his book. What I do want to do is wrap up this video by opening this. I think there's a free gift inside. I'll open that up after, but I am going to Now, I haven't looked, I haven't peeked, so I don't know what's inside. My goodness, I am so excited to see this. So it's got a beautiful little ribbon. I don't think it undoes. Maybe if I just try and slide it off, because I don't want to. There we go. Oh, I might actually lower the camera so that you can see. There we go. Is that better? Can you see better if I do that? Right, okay, let's have a look. Ooh, what is this? Ooh, it's in a beautiful box. So this is a royal replica. Now, you might recognise it when I open it. Which way does it open? Let me just... Oh, it opens this way. Ooh. Oh no, you can't even see it. Right. Oh, okay. Do you recognise it? Do you recognise this little beauty? Oh my goodness, look at this. Wow. Oh wow. Do you recognise this? I'm going to have to just pop the box down for a second. This is a replica of the Japanese pearl choker that belonged to the Queen, and I do believe is on long-term loan to Catherine, the Princess of Wales. And she's worn it. She wore it to the funeral of the Duke of Edinburgh, and she wore it to the funeral of the Queen. Now, is it going to fit? Because it may have been made, obviously, for perhaps a female neck, and I didn't actually look at the measurements because I just wanted it. Because I thought that if it doesn't fit, then I can just get an extender. Oh wow! Oh wow! Oh wow! Oh wow! And Princess Diana wore it as well. Oh wow! Oh, I'm so excited. Right, I'm going to leave it on. I'm going to high you all up again. Oh wow! Oh my goodness, this is why I wore this tiara today. So this tiara is the Duchess Augusta tiara with the pearls on. And I've chosen a replica, the Queen's flower basket brooch. Oh wow, this is amazing. I can now wear this. I've always wanted a choker. That is stunning. I'll pop some photos up. Wow, this is absolutely incredible. Oh wow, so some people have asked me to do a royal replica kind of jewellery haul or tour of all my different jewels. I will do that, and I'll probably make a separate video on this, giving you all the information. But I do believe the Queen was gifted from Japan the pearls in 1977, and I think by the early 80s, by 1983 at least, the Queen had the pearls made into a choker and she'd added these diamonds, and I think it was the jeweler Garrod that turned it into the choker. The Queen famously didn't really wear chokers that often. She wore this a few times in the 80s before, I think, pretty much giving it on long-term loan to Princess Diana. And then, of course, it went into retirement until it was loaned to Catherine, and it's still believed to be on long-term loan from Catherine. And we have a little baby. Hello, darling. Hello, sweetie. This is Bo. He's come to say hello. Right, I'm going to wrap up today's video. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching. Like, share, subscribe, because there will be more and more and more content coming up over the coming weeks, months, years. So thank you for watching. And from me, to you all, and goodbye.